Hi everyone, my name's Troy. I work with Milsim Canada. You'll often see me as the Rebel Commander from our past events. I also help out a lot with background stuff, rule sets, lore, those sorts of things. I want to make this video for you guys, so for the new players who haven't attended our events, they might have a little bit better understanding of what it's like to play in one and what you're going to see when you're there. Depending on the AO and the exact time frames, this may be adjusted, but this is going off our past events and generally how long it takes us to do stuff. So this might relate more to the events we're doing in Kelowna. Similar things will happen depending on where we go. We are intending to go to Toronto, hopefully some more places across Canada. And this should just be a rough timeline of kind of the pregame actions on the day of. So around 1400 or 2 o'clock, that's when we start checking people's paperwork, tickets, IDs, that sort of stuff. Just get waivers, everything needed to formally induct you into the game. In the next few hours, so the 3-hour span, we would start basically collecting people in squads or groups of people to go over gear check, make sure people have the required gear to safely handle the weekend. Our events are 40 hours long, often starting on a Friday, ending on a Sunday, so we need to make sure our players can safely last that long due to the weather elements, just how hard it is on your body. Different AOs have different challenges, and it's on the staff at that time to make sure that the players actually have what they need to go. Somewhere after that time, in the next hour or so, let's say 1800, that's when we start doing our safety speeches, large announcements, that sort of stuff pre-game, and allows players to ask any last-minute questions as a group to clarify any rules or anything that may have not been answered before, or if you feel like it needs to be put out in front of a larger group of people rather just in person. So around 1800, that's when we start infilling into the field. Depending on the AO, you might just be rucking in with your backpacks on your own feet. With some of the AOs, especially the one in Kelowna, it's very steep, it is a mountain, it's a little ski resort, and to expect players to be able to ruck up their gear and still have energy to play for the next few hours is we're pretty certain the larger group of people couldn't handle that, plus one team might have to go a lot further than the other. So in fairness, we will we will get your gear in vehicles, drive up your gear. So if you are going to be moving, it's just going to be on your feet. Support staff who might not be fully into the game, they're more help out. They will probably get catch rides to get people start the stuff up top while the players get in. And for the next few hours, the players start rotating different duties. The game hasn't quite started yet, but we allow people to build their shelters, build defensive positions. We may allow recon units to go out without BBs in, without their magazines in, to kind of recon the area, get a lay of the land before they come back. And that's also a time when squad leaders, platoon leaders and stuff are going to plan with their command elements, maybe with new intelligence and new stuff on the ground that may have changed from any prior planning prior to the event. And at around 2000 or 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, the game will start. That's when goggles have to be on for the rest of the event. Man's end, games going on, and that's when you'll start seeing patrols, reconnaissance units going out, doing different things, maybe setting up ambushes, but generally people are just trying to get their feelers out, maybe try to figure out where the enemy is. The first 4 or 5 hours of the game are intelligence gathering, maybe small firefights here and there, just allowing both teams to put their feelers out to try to basically figure out where they need to go and start planning for the morning's maybe larger movements. Before we go more into that, I like to go over kind of what you're expected to have at camp and probably what you have to have in your rucksacks, and why we have some of that gear as mandatory essential items on our packing list. So a big difference from our events compared to a lot of events you may have attended, or if this is your first event, we try to emulate the military, military simulation. We aim more for the simulation part than we do the airsoft part. Airsoft is kind of just the tool, the vessel of conducting these missions, doing these things, and that's just the cheapest, easiest way, and the mass-produced one, so people can enjoy our games. Whereas you might attend games where you just show up, shoot as many shots, things as you can, run around till you're tired, and you can go back to your hotel room or campsite and wait a little bit and go back in when you feel better later. Our games don't run like that. They run closer to real life missions. Probably if you've been through basic training, this might be reminiscent of kind of your field days when you're out in the military. You've done your training, you've done your in-class work, you're now going out into the elements actually practicing these things. This is going to be very similar to that with live enemy combatants, using airsoft stuff. So the reason we emphasize your ruck being correct is because you need to be able to carry all your non-combat gear and place it in your patrol base or forward operating bases. You're basically like where you're going to be living out of. And we are helping either shuttle your gear, or depending on the AO, you're going to have to carry your own stuff in. So you can't bring coolers. We don't allow coolers. We don't allow super large tents that require 20 people to bring. We need players to be bringing, they need to be able to handle themselves and not rely on other people. That being said, there are things you can do with buddies or teammates, but generally the idea is you need to be able to live out of your ruck entirely for the whole event. The only caveat to that would be water. We expect you to bring a certain amount of water, enough to probably for the first 12 hours of play, or at least get you to the next morning. That's generally 3 to 4 liters, so a liter on you, generally on the combat load, another 3 liters in your ruck. Same thing with your food. It needs to be lightweight. It needs to, high carbs, high protein. You need to be able to reliably feed yourself quickly. It generally takes 10 minutes to cook, like boil water, put it in a freeze-dried meal and eat it, and that's fine. That you're generally going to have enough downtime for that. But we aren't going to have people bringing out barbecues, cooking, that sort of stuff. That's not what our games run as. That's not how we tempo our games. We can't have players doing that sort of thing. So you need to be able to either eat, warm up a can of food, MRE style food, freeze-dried stuff, snacks. A lot of people just eat jerky and carbs like bagels, stuff like that. And your food needs to reflect that. Same with your shelter. Your shelter has to be able to fit within your ruck. We're not going to be bringing extra people's giant tents to the event. If you can have a small 1-person, 2-person tent, ideally it's military style and correct military colors. If you can't, we really need players to be bringing maybe a camo tarp or a green or brown tarp to cover their tent so it doesn't look like you're just camping out in the woods. We want to try to actually be a little bit tactical, and we don't want bright colors because the enemy can attack you at any time. Our events are live the entire 40 hours. The game doesn't stop. So you need to have your glasses on, your goggles on. You need to be prepared to fight at any time. So when you have overly large tents and stuff like that, you potentially give away position. It is also just not, it's just too difficult to logistically bring to the event for you. So again, you need to have a smaller tent. Or, which you're going to see the vast majority of players, either have a bivy bag and a small tarp, maybe a bivy bag and a poncho, or some sort of camo tarp and your sleeping bag. You can do, even with a lot of rain, if you have a good enough tarp and you build your shelter good enough, you can do a lot with just a tarp and a sleeping bag. I'm actually in a cadet hangar right now. I train cadets how to build shelters and stuff like that. It is not overly difficult. There are plenty of players in the community that can teach you that stuff, So if you have any confusion, you can definitely ask people, or just look online, look at YouTube videos. There's probably thousands of them to show you basic shelter setups that allow you to be maybe a little bit more hidden, and it's a little less camping, a little bit more tactical, and that's what we hope players, we can only be as cool and tactical in Milsim as the players are willing to do. So the more you guys are willing to do that, the better the events, from our minds, transfer to yours. And then to reiterate, you need to be able to infill with that stuff. Some AOs, you need to be able to carry all this stuff, plus your fighting gear, plus your gun, plus yourself, into the game. We're mentioning Kelowna again. We will drive your gear up, but again, we have to do trips. There could be 90 players per side, and growing larger every year as we expand, and we have to do this efficiently. We cannot be bringing, one person's gear can't take up a third of a truck. It needs to be efficient. Generally, a ruck size is, you're going to often see anywhere between 45 to maybe 60 to 70 liters. Generally, more than that, you're probably overkill. You're going to probably bring too much stuff. Less than that, you're probably not going to have the right gear. You're going to probably missing too much. I have done plenty of events where I've basically lived out of my fighting gear with very little. It's totally doable. That's more so when I'm going to the United States, where maybe the environment's a little more stable. We are often playing in Canada, where the temperature shifts are a lot swingier, and the chance of rain, especially in Kelowna, can happen out of nowhere. It is atop a mountain. The valley can be bright and sunny and 30 degrees, and the top of the mountain could be 10 degrees and pouring rain. It's happened. Our very first event, we got basically rained out because even the staff was not expecting that much rain. It was very, very difficult to maneuver. And to get players on board, you can look at ruck packing videos. I may even produce those sorts of things soon, and you can do that research yourself. It's on you as the player to take care of yourself. Us as the staff can only do so much. Now that's been said and done, we're going to start going on to what the actual gameplay is going to look like. So generally, you're going to be playing at squad level tactics. So this is anywhere between, let's say 7 to 12 people, sometimes larger, generally not smaller than that. And for the most part, squads are going to be inside platoons. You're going to have anywhere between 3 to 4 squads per platoon, rotating on missions for most of the event. And for a good chunk of it, you're just going to be going out on squad level, maybe 2 squads at a time, conducting these patrols. You're going to potentially just go on recon missions, even as a larger element. Conducting ambushes, hopefully not getting ambushed yourself. Hopefully you are using correct, your correct skills that hopefully you will learn, or people will teach you at the time to be able to potentially counter an ambush or see it coming earlier and plan around it. And you're going to be spending most of the event basically rotating on patrol and doing a few other things. So now to dive into that a little further, I'll go over to this little diagram I have built up, and just to kind of explain what you would often see rotating throughout. Often you're going to see a squad, let's say first squad, they're going to go out on a patrol. Super simple. They get a mission either from their platoon leader, coming down from above, or just kind of a generic patrol pattern. Depending on the AO, it can be shorter times, depending on, and some can be longer. Generally, I've found it's normally on a 2-hour cycle. Especially the larger fields take a lot longer to navigate, and if you do get into contact, you got to fight through it, and, collect your guys afterwards, make sure everyone's okay, and you have to, and we're very, very careful, you have to be very careful that actually everyone you go out with actually returns. So it takes time to do that stuff. It's where we will train squads and platoons at the game so they can fully understand how they do that sort of stuff. This is just more so an overview. At that same time, the second squad would probably be on QRF, or standby. What that means is they're probably going to be they're going to be geared up, they're going to be out and ready, but they're going to maybe be pushed up to the front lines of the assumed front line and enemy territory of the event, depending on, again, the AO. And this is going to put you in a defensive position, probably occupying a forward position, ready to either, plug a hole so enemy patrols or enemy reconnaissance can't go somewhere, or you're going to be potentially QRF for the patrol out. So if they get into contact and there's a chance that they can add an additional squad can help push through and maybe destroy that enemy, that's why we need that QRF ready to go, guns in hand, to fight that out. The last remaining element, well, let's say third squad, they are on like R&R. They're generally back at their patrol base or the forward operating bases, let's say R&R, and they are going to basically be eating, changing their socks, getting gear, maybe catching some sleep. Again, this is a 2-hour cycle, so doing what you can to recuperate and be ready to go for the next mission. And as that happens, we will, if everything goes smooth and everyone's, returns correctly and head counts are done correctly, that patrol returns, and now they're going to go on R&R. They're going to probably debrief their leadership, talk to their platoon leaders, gather any intelligence passing up to the platoons so they can be passed up to the line, so maybe further future missions can be conducted. Inside of that is also your HQ element. That's going to be like your platoon leader, radio operator, platoon medic, that sort of thing. And they need to be briefed on that stuff to make sure things are going correctly. Often these guys might one at a time jump in on the patrol if they're feeling, if it's just going to be a gun patrols, they'll jump in and help out. And I guess we'll continue on. So now the R&R group will go on QRF on standby, and the guys on QRF will go out on their patrol. Right? So now, over this 6 hour, let's say 5, 6, 7 hour span, everyone's got a chance to rest, everyone's got a chance to be in a fortified position or go on a patrol. This can be escalated more if there is maybe more than one squad. We have 4 squads, so we can have a larger patrol element going out. It all is generally dictated by the pace of the game and what's happening. If the enemy is more aggressive, we might have to have more QRF, and stuff ready. So this isn't a built-in 100% plan. This is just so players understand they are not just going out into the field and doing whatever they want. This is, we try to control how the players, not so much what they do in every moment, we just want to make sure the tempo is controlled so people aren't getting too tired and wiping themselves out and wanting to leave early, when in reality, if the command and leadership can control it, you can have a steady game throughout the entire weekend. There's a lot of games where people go, basically blow their wad, and they're tired and they're gone after 8 hours. We want to make sure you can do the whole weekend. We might split up squads, send them out on recon. So there's like forward recon. There's also what's called like an LPOP, a listening post, observation post. We might just have them, send a fire team out into a position so they can watch an area to see if enemies coming through. So like a forward observation, forward recon, whereas we may have recon groups, dedicated recon groups, generally 2 to 6 people that will go deep into enemy territory looking for the enemy in their own territory. And this is going to give you a wide variety of missions. Hopefully everyone gets a chance to do something. You might be sent out to just go conduct an ambush for an hour or so, with maybe there's intelligence that a group will be going through a certain area. You're going to be setting up an ambush point to make sure they can deny that movement. And this is generally done on a squad level, platoon level, right? Sometimes we might get the whole entire platoon going out on a larger patrol, because the other platoons can stay back and maybe get R&R and QRF while the entire platoon goes out. There is, as we grow and as we get more players, we can have larger movements like this. So far we've had smaller groups, so we haven't really had the chance to have these bigger groups going out and do stuff, but it is definitely something that happens. What different groups call what is a raid. So let's say there's we get intelligence that there is an enemy group. So let's say there's a little mountain, and there is enemies in like a base, right? If we can verify that intelligence through reconnaissance, through patrols, through other aspects of intelligence gathering, we can then conduct what's called a raid. We can grab everyone in the platoon, potentially everyone in the company, the entire team, and assault that position, often sending people around, attacking from different directions, hopefully all of them hitting at the same time to maximize confusion and damage. Sometimes maybe we are going to have to go, your team might have to go and occupy a position, and you are going to fully expect a raid from the enemy team. So hopefully you're going to get a well-rounded experience in that 40 hours time. And that's really all I have to say. There's a lot more. You're going to learn a lot more in-game. There's a lot more research and video research you can do. Milsim West, which is a company in the United States, has been doing this for a very long time, well over 10 years, often I think putting out 12 plus games a year of this similar style thing in a larger caliber. You can get a lot of that through footage you see from that. There's plenty of YouTubers that go out there and film their experience here. So if you want to see that stuff, they're a great resource. You're also going to see trickling out Milsim Canada videos out. We've had 2 events, so people have been putting out their footage up there, so you can kind of see what's going on. But that's it. Hopefully this is a great base to start, and I'm looking forward to produce more videos for you guys soon, and that's really it. Hopefully we see you guys out at our game soon, and thank you guys.